2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, I can be so much more productive. It's not just me. You felt that, right? What's your name? Tori? You think that often? I think it all the time. But there's a limit to that. So why don't you just pull an all-nighter then and get more work done? No one will want to be around you? You're wanting a lot? Some other reason. It'll affect your personality and your ability to cope with stress. You know, one of the things is like when you see yourself sitting there studying late at night and your eyes are going like that. You're just seeing like these words floating. You realize, like, I'm sure you've all done this, where you're dreaming while you're awake. Just as an aside, anyone do that when you're driving on the interstate late at night? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. But you know, you reach a point where you decide, okay, maybe I should just go to sleep now. This is unproductive. And you have to decide, when does productivity end, and when are you just like spinning your wheels and wasting time? And each of us has to decide that. You know, you have finite resources. What are some of the resources you have available to you as a graduate student that you can utilize or tap into and access to help you in your role as a grad student? What are some of the resources available to you?
Caffeine.
Caffeine. That's a resource. And I would just highlight, I'm not suggesting it's a bad one, but I would highlight that even something that's helpful, I would say too much of a good thing is still too much. So you can overdo it with caffeine. But I'm not saying no caffeine allowed in our graduate school. No, obviously, Starbucks is the way the school stays afloat financially. I think it goes without saying. American University Starbucks is the #1 grossing Starbucks in the country. It's on the street in DC, and it's like the World Bank is there, and all, you know, all these office buildings and all the students. It's like a very busy part of DC, and it's a big moneymaker. They've even done studies of law students and how they use their student loans on coffee, on Starbucks, and what the business school did this, and what the real cost is over time. By the time they pay back their loans, they were spending like $18.82 per cup of coffee because of the interest they're paying by using their loan to buy coffee. So it doesn't mean you're growing your evenings, but your loans are not for coffee. But everything in moderation. So one resource you have available to you is caffeine. I'll grant you that. Other resources that you might have available to you to help you be a graduate student, be successful at it. Alcohol. So Lauren Greenberg, and actually she had show me your portable bar that you have with you.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, you know, one of her resources is alcohol. And I suppose some people use that as a coping strategy, a way of relaxing and unwinding after a long, hard day of ethics class, for example. Caffeine, alcohol, those are resources. How about internal resources? We're getting off track here. Back to ways of coping, some of which are very positive and helpful, and others are potentially more maladaptive than others, depending on how and when they're used and things like that. But how about resources within you? Interpersonal or physical or emotional, or what kind of resources do you have that help you be successful as a grad student?
Maybe get all mushy, but the support of my friends has definitely helped a lot.
But that is a good one. So that's a resource that you know that you can tap into. So when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're questioning, was this a good career choice after all, at midterm time or whatever, having people that you can vent to and support something is really important. Now that doesn't mean everyone has to have 4.2 friends or something like that. You have to decide what works for you, and it's an individual thing. And how much you share with your friends, or how actively you utilize them, that's up to you. But for many people, friends are a resource. It's a support network, and you can build a support network. And that can be people from outside the program, and that can be people here in the program. And lots of people travel in a pack in our department. It's like groups that go from class to class together, hang out together, and that's wonderful. You provide support to each other. So friends, and maybe even I'd add family, but social support network, that's a resource. Any other resources you have?
Going for a run.
you know your limits and like, okay, doing more of this is just not a good idea. I need a break. And when you take a break, you might use the Loring Greenberg method or of alcohol, or you might go for a run or do some exercise. And so you have, that's an option available to you. So it's like a stress reliever that you know, oh, I can always go exercise a little and I'll feel better. Then I can come back, refreshed, try again.
You can also think about the show over time and back.
Sometimes you just need to get away from it, and when you come back, you can see it in a new way, a fresh way. And it's true, if you're running, or some people like swimming, or even taking a shower, or sauna, whatever it is, meditating, relaxing, your mind just wanders and drifts, and ideas pop in, and you can see it in a new way, and that can be really helpful. Whereas when you just keep pushing harder and harder, often you get nowhere, it's just frustrating. So exercise might be a great option and resource available to you.
Possibly a mentor, someone that you can bounce ideas off of, or someone who's been through the process before, kind of normalize your experience.
Excellent. So a mentor or someone who's been through it before. So it's similar to friends and family, but not exactly. So obviously here in our program, we have a mentoring program that any student can sign up for. And you can have someone, a first-year student, have a second-year student who's been through it before and say, you know, how do you do this? Or can you believe what happened? What happens next? Whatever. But, you know, and I think it's a great point because most frequently the unknown is stressful and anxiety arousing. And so if we can talk to someone who's been through it before and they say, don't worry, that's always how it is, but just in a couple of weeks it gets easier. It's like, oh, okay, I can hang through for 2 more weeks. As opposed to, if this is like this forever, I'm quitting. So, not that you've ever thought that, but just suggesting theory. But the idea is someone who's been through it before can really provide support and guidance. So that's a resource.
Prayer and meditation.
Prayer, meditation, your own spirituality, religion, and even when we talk about resources outside, like of people, it could be someone in your religious or faith-based community, or just you using prayer and meditation internally as a way of coping, a way of releasing stress. And there's probably countless others. So I don't have to ask by a show of hands, but certainly there's certain, the most basic things that we all have to do, and it's imperfect, I understand, have to do with our nutrition, our sleep, and exercise. And those are just 3 really important ways of taking care of ourselves. And as a graduate student who probably has a life outside of grad school, does anyone have that? Like you actually have things in your life outside of school? Because you have to manage that too. That's to fit in. You can't just have faculty say, do this. Great idea. 200-page paper. Do Thursday. That's a terrific idea. We love that idea. Thank you so much. You know, how about I have a life also, and I have other obligations. Many of you work, and many of you have families and relationships, and all that has to get fit in too. And if everything gets pushed to the side, that's not going to be so great in terms of your feelings of wellness and taking care of yourself. And we certainly don't want you having resentment building up, and we also certainly don't want you to get burned out and emotionally exhausted. And so how do you pace yourself? How do you use resources? All that becomes so important. How do you use each other? I mean, I think that's a really important point. What is your support network? And if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling like you're in it alone, if you're feeling like you have no one to talk to, that's probably a really bad sign. And I mean, I know you have your advisor. You know, I probably talk, and I'm an advisor, so I can speak from experience. Probably talking to your advisor is not quite the same as talking to your friends. That's just my guess. I might, oh, you can come talk to me anytime. Thanks, I'd rather go talk to my friends. You have to do what's best for you. But having others that you can talk to, not holding it in, letting it build up, and not feeling under this terrible pressure and not taking positive action. So there has to be some kind of action you can take when things are not going well. And I do think talking to a mentor, talking to an advisor, using your inner resources, your friends and support network, those are all great places to start. Has anyone ever here experienced any kind of emotional distress yet? Just one. Well, stop drinking so much. The risks of volunteering in my classes. So the people who haven't raised their hand yet already know